Dr. Stone, episode 21, recap, go. The Spartan Craft Building Club gets together. They work hard until Christmas, but Santa forgets to give Senku his present until New Year's. What did you like? That was a good recap. I love the name, the Spartan Craft Building Club, because obviously the Spartans are all grr, must win at all costs. It doesn't matter if you're a thief. If you don't get caught, might makes right. And then craft building, like, in the modern sensibilities, it sounds very like frou-frou, like arts and crafts kind of craft building. But then you got to keep in mind that he's talking about big ass water wheels and vacuum tubes and stuff like that. So it sounds very oxymoronic, but I obviously understand where the phrasing is coming from. I just think it's really funny. Um, we get to see Kohaku and her father's villain face as Senku hooks up their power generator to a bunch of different things. Um, and they both have good villain faces. I like how Kohaku is still just like sweet and innocent even when she has like the snake tongue and pointy teeth and stuff. But then we get a line repeated by Senku that is, "This doesn't mean you can slack off." And I think this is a very important point because our modern day tools are frequent excuses to work less or easier to achieve similar results to harder work. And that sounds good. And that sounds like obviously that's what they're meant for. But advancement can only happen when you build a tool to make your work easier or faster so that you can get more work done. I think that there's a lot of people that just kind of rest on their laurels and, oh, we have, like, okay, I used to work cash register at the local supermarket, and everything was just done electronically. I didn't really have to think about doing anything until it came to like cashing out my drawer or, whatever. And so whenever I had free time, I just go around and help mop or stock shelves if we had 3 people on register and no one in the store. And I would get questioned by like my boss and my coworkers, like, why are you doing extra work? And it's, well, I'm bored because I don't have to do my math. I don't have to do any of the math at the register. And I don't know. I want to do something. And I just think that a lot of people get into this mindset of, we have these machines or these tools and I can get the bare, like, I can get exactly what I used to do done and then have more time to relax or do whatever, when really it should be, oh, I have this tool that now my work is done in half of the time. I can do more of the same work or move on to a different project or start strengthening other skills. Yeah, there. I'll just leave it at that. That's my stance. I'm glad Senku has the same stance, which is that machines are great and they make our lives easier, but that doesn't mean that we should work less as humans. Then we get some passing of time because they're working on light bulbs and vacuum tubes by hand, which I know obviously that's how the first of all of those were done, but by now, like, that is such an automated task. Like, we don't use vacuum tubes anymore. I don't think. Oh my god. I think I might have just said something really, really stupid. Um, I don't think we use vacuum tubes anymore. But if we did make them today, there is no way anyone would be doing it by hand. And I would bet money that if vacuum tubes are in production, the closest thing to a human that they see before getting packaged is an inspector. So, yeah. But yeah, we see some passage of time as Senku decorates a Christmas tree, and he does it to show off how cool light bulbs are to the villagers, but it's a very somber moment between him and Ansar again as Gen asks him if it's Christmas Day, and Senku just kind of tries to play it off. But it's a really sad and sentimental moment that is only possibly shared between those two characters at the time. And I think it's good that we get one shot of the villagers being as excited as they should be. And then the rest of that moment is dedicated to Gin and Senku talking about the old world. Because what this Christmas tree is Senku carrying on a tradition that he knows is probably not been seen in the world for however long it's been petrified, and he wants to bring some semblance of the world that he's working towards into where he is now. And that's obviously constantly what he's doing, but all of the other things are through a guise of this is work that needs done, this will improve people's lives, but just a decorative light show, as Ansari again says, makes him feel like he's in the old world. And I like how he says it almost as an offhand thought that just pops into his mind, but that has to be the biggest compliment to Senku in that moment, because that's what he's doing. He's fighting for the world that he used to live in, even if he doesn't care for the traditions that used to be there. He's fighting for those traditions, and so he's going to keep them alive if he can, and it's not too onerous of a task for them. And it's a very good moment that normally when you see Christmas trees, it's a very happy and excited feeling that you get, and you get that with the villagers right off the bat. But then, I don't know, I think it's just a good way to show that Senku does have his emotions, even if he doesn't like letting them out until it's some big grandiose display like this. My next note is vacuum tubes ... by hand ... yeah, I already touched on this. This is an insane process to me. Big kudos to whoever invented the first of like the light bulbs and the vacuum tubes. That is some grade A engineering. It's too bad that everything's built to destroy itself these days. Otherwise, we'd probably know what your name is. Then, okay. So my next note is Ansari again saying exactly what I'm thinking, which is as the whole village is up, going towards the new year, and Suika has her rock, and Senku's feeling all depressed because he can't figure out these vacuum tubes that keep breaking, and the bamboo filament isn't strong enough, it can't withstand the heat. And then Suika has the Shkili rock that Senku recognizes he can turn into tungsten, but it glows blue in reaction to the ultraviolet light of daybreak. And I love that Gen says it's a magic rock just for this moment. And normally I like to say that just because you point out that you have a Deus Ex Machina doesn't make the Deus Ex Machina any better. But I like how, for not the first and certainly not the last time in the show, but I think it's done the best here, it puts you in the perspective of the villagers. You don't know what's happening. It would be hard to say that you know, or it would be rare to find someone who would know exactly what was happening before it was being explained by Senku and why it was happening, and all of that. It makes you feel like science is magic. And that's why I like this line so much, is he calls it a magic rock, because at this point, Gen might as well call Senku a sorcerer. He knows that he's a scientist, but he's working magic. He's making light bulbs, and he can identify this crazy rare geological stone that he even admits that he's never seen before. He might as well be a wizard because he's so scientifically advanced beyond even someone who's just a normal dude in the real world today. So yeah, I Gin is just here for taking subtext and saying it outright in this episode. I think that might be one of the reasons why I like Gin as a character is he spells everything that the writer's trying to say out for you, and it's nice to get I, even if you can pick out what the message is, if you can confirm that your suspicions about what they're trying to say is right, that's always nice. So I think that's why Gin ends up being one of my favorite characters in this show. And then finally, they realize that they can go get their hands on some tungsten, and they've got all this mining equipment. So we need to go mining for the more of the Shkili rock, and we get to a great little bit there at the end where there's a character select screen, and it's really really fantastic that you get a good little splash art of all of the characters, hit points, attack values, notable quotes, special abilities, and everybody has a unique ability that no one else can have. So like Kohaku is Gorilla, which gives her an attack bonus, but she acts without thinking. One of them is Kinro's is that he's the best all around, but he's so serious that he brings morale down for the team. It's so good. It's such a fantastic little budget animation, and it lets the voice actors do a lot of their own thing because they can do whatever inflection and whatever timing, and it doesn't need to worry if it's awkward for the animators or whatever, because obviously it's just splash art. And I I just I really like it. It's a good way to end the episode. Um so spoilers, they take magma with them. Uh and that is played off like it's going to go poorly and until it doesn't, obviously. Uh but yeah, I really like the choice of bringing magma. I like exploring the character of, hey, even if he's a big dumb guy that we've been honestly really rude to and squashed his dreams of becoming chief, he's still part of our team and we need to use his skills properly. And if he wants to decide to not be on the team, then that's up to him, but we can't just assume that he's going to be an asshole. We need to treat him with the dignity and respect that we treat everybody else with, recognize his talents, and eventually we will probably come to an agreement with him, which, spoiler alert, they do. And it's a good agreement. It's exactly what you would expect out of Magma. I enjoy that they play up that it could be, like, they play up into Magma having been a villain so far in the next episode. And I'll probably talk about this a little bit and what I didn't like, but I think it would have been a lot more impactful to just not even bring it up until the power was in his hands, and then having like a flashback or something to him talking about how he'd do anything to become the chief, he'd kill anybody, this, that, and the other to rise above, and then have him rescue Senku all at once, because then it wouldn't be this long drawn out will they won't they type thing. It would just kind of be like, oh right, maybe bringing Magma was kind of a bad idea, and then you show Senku coming, like Senku's changing of the world, changing even the people who don't recognize it as the most important thing that could be happening. So yeah, I'll once I actually rewatch that episode, I'm sure I'll talk more about that in particular. But what's the big takeaway to this is that sometimes you need to remind yourself what you're fighting for. There's a lot of sober moments in what is otherwise a downtime episode, and it's mostly because Senku needs to stop and contemplate what he's doing, and he's getting roadblocks thrown in his way and impossible situations that he's worked himself into, and he takes time to decorate a Christmas tree. He relaxes, takes a breather, reminds himself of what he's fighting for so that the next day he can come at his problem with a fresh set of eyes and maybe a few more resources. So, yeah. Keep keep your end goals in mind. Keep your eyes on the prize. I should fucking shut up